Journey of Roman Soldiers. A story of valor, sacrifice, and transformation. The journey of Roman soldiers defined the resilience and reach of the Roman Empire. Their lives, marked by rigorous discipline, battles fought far from home, and enduring bonds forged in hardship, embody the spirit of Rome. This story follows a group of Roman soldiers as they navigate the trials of military life, the horrors of war, and the quest for meaning amidst the chaos. Chapter 1. The Recruitment. Rome, 25 CE. Gaius Marcellus was a young stonemason, his hands calloused from years of labor in the bustling streets of Rome. Yet, the allure of the Roman legions called to him, the promise of glory, adventure, and a soldier's share of spoils. When recruiters arrived, banners flying and drums pounding, he knew his destiny awaited beyond the city walls. The recruiter, a grizzled veteran named Sextus, scanned Gaius with a critical eye. "You look strong enough," Sextus said. "Can you march for miles, fight until your arms give out, and obey orders without question?" "I can," Gaius replied, his voice steady. With a nod, Sextus handed him a wooden tablet. "Welcome to the legions. Your life as a citizen ends today." Chapter 2. Training in the Legion. The Castra of Capua. Training was brutal. Gaius joined dozens of recruits in the sprawling military camp of Capua, where the centurions drilled them relentlessly. Days began before dawn with endless marches in full armor, followed by hours of combat practice with wooden swords twice as heavy as the real thing. "Discipline is your god now," Centurion Publius barked. "Without it, you are nothing but a rabble waiting to die." Gaius befriended two fellow recruits, Marcus, a farmer's son with a cheerful disposition, and Decimus, a quiet but skilled archer from the provinces. Together, they endured the grueling training, sharing dreams of the adventures that awaited them. On the day of their final drill, Gaius earned his shield and gladius. "You are no longer boys," Publius declared. "You are soldiers of Rome." Chapter 3. The First Campaign. The Rhine Frontier. The legions were deployed to Germania, where unrest among the tribes threatened the empire's borders. Gaius and his comrades crossed the Rhine, entering a world of dense forests and shadowed glades. The soldiers built fortified camps each night, their spades digging into the cold earth. "The forest feels alive," Marcus muttered one evening as they stood watch. "Like it's watching us." It wasn't long before the forest struck back. The ambush. The column was marching through a narrow pass when arrows rained down from the trees. Germanic warriors emerged from the underbrush, their war cries echoing in the dense woods. "Shields up!" Centurion Publius roared. The soldiers formed a testudo, their shields locking together as a wall against the onslaught. Gaius felt fear claw at his chest as the battle raged around him. He fought with everything he had, his gladius cutting through the chaos. By nightfall, the ambush was repelled, but the cost was heavy. Decimus lay among the dead, his bow shattered beside him. The survivors lit a pyre for their fallen comrades, their faces grim in the firelight. "This is not the glory we dreamed of," Marcus said quietly. Chapter 4. Bonds forged in battle. Winter in the frontier. As the campaign dragged on, Gaius grew close to his cohort. They were a mix of men from every corner of the empire, Gauls, Iberians, and even a few auxiliaries from Germania itself. Despite their differences, they became a family, bound by shared hardship. On cold nights, they huddled around the fire, telling stories of home and singing songs to lift their spirits. Gaius often thought of his family in Rome, wondering if they still thought of him. Marcus, ever the optimist, offered hope. "When this war is over, we'll march home with gold in our pockets and stories to tell." Chapter 5. The Siege of the Hill Fort. A test of endurance. The legions laid siege to a Germanic hill fort, a stronghold perched atop a rugged cliff. The siege dragged on for weeks, with Roman engineers constructing ramps and siege towers under constant enemy fire. Gaius worked tirelessly, hauling timber and stones, his muscles aching. When the final assault came, he led his cohort up the ramp, their shields braced against falling rocks and flaming arrows. They breached the gates in a storm of violence. Gaius fought alongside Marcus, their gladii flashing in the firelight. The battle ended in Roman victory, but the sight of the slain, warriors, women, and children, left a bitter taste in Gaius' mouth. "This is what we've become," he said to Marcus afterward, his voice heavy with sorrow. Chapter 6. The Return to Rome. A Hero's Welcome. After years on the frontier, the legion returned to Rome, their banners tattered but their spirits unbroken. The streets were lined with cheering citizens as the soldiers marched in triumph, their spoils displayed on carts. Gaius felt pride as he paraded past the Capitolium, but it was tempered by memories of the men who hadn't made it home. Marcus, too, carried the weight of loss. "We're heroes to them," he said, gesturing to the crowd. "But we'll never be the same." Chapter 7. Life as a Veteran. Settling in the provinces. Gaius was granted land in Gaul as a reward for his service. Though far from Rome, he found peace in the quiet fields, tending crops and raising a family. Marcus settled nearby, their bond unbroken by time. The land was fertile, the work hard but satisfying. Gaius taught his children the discipline he had learned in the legions, instilling in them the values of duty and resilience. Reflections on war. In his later years, Gaius often thought of his time in the legions. He remembered the camaraderie, the battles, and the sacrifices. Though he had questioned the cost of Rome's expansion, he took pride in his service. "War is not glory," he told his grandson one evening. "It is survival. But it teaches you who you are, and it forges bonds that last a lifetime." Chapter 8. The Veteran's Role in the Provinces. A New Life in Gaul. Gaius Marcellus adapted to his life as a landowner in Gaul, where Roman and local customs blended into a unique frontier culture. The veterans in the area, once legionaries who had fought side by side, now formed the backbone of the local community. They introduced Roman agricultural techniques, built roads, and even helped establish schools and baths. Gaius became a respected figure in the community. He was called upon to mediate disputes, advise on engineering projects, and train the local militia. "Once a soldier, always a soldier," he would joke when asked about his leadership role. But there were still reminders of his past. In the evenings, he would sit by the hearth, staring into the flames, the faces of his fallen comrades vivid in his mind. His wife often found him there, lost in thought, and would quietly place a hand on his shoulder. The emergence of Romano-Gallic identity. In Gaul, the Roman veterans and the local Gallic tribes gradually forged a shared identity. Roman engineering merged with Gallic artistry, creating towns that reflected both cultures. Gaius was proud of the harmony they had achieved, though he remained wary of the growing tensions along the Rhine frontier. Marcus, his old friend, often visited. They would sit under the stars, sharing stories of their campaigns. "Do you think we fought for this?" Marcus asked one night, gesturing at the peaceful village below. "For Rome to become this? We fought for the men beside us," Gaius replied. "But perhaps this peace, unity, is what we were really building all along." Chapter 9. The Call to Defend. The Alemanni Threat. In 259 CE, the Alemanni, a Germanic confederation, launched a series of raids into Roman territory. Gaius, now in his 60s, was summoned to organize the local militia. Though his body bore the scars of age and war, his mind was as sharp as ever. "We cannot let them undo what we've built," Gaius told the young men who gathered in the town square. "We stand not just for Rome, but for our families, our homes, and our future." The militia trained under Gaius' guidance, using tactics he had learned decades earlier in the legions. When the Alemanni attacked, the militia fought with discipline and courage, driving the raiders back across the frontier. A costly victory. The victory came at a cost. Marcus, who had joined the militia despite his age, was mortally wounded in the battle. Gaius knelt by his friend's side as the life ebbed from him. "Did we do enough, Gaius?" Marcus asked, his voice weak. "We did more than enough, old friend," Gaius replied, gripping his hand. "Rest now. You've earned it." Marcus' death was a heavy blow, but Gaius found solace in the knowledge that they had defended what mattered most. Chapter 10. The Decline of Rome. a fractured empire. As the 4th century dawned, Gaius' grandchildren grew up in a world where Rome's power was waning. The empire was divided, its borders under constant pressure from migrating tribes. Veterans like Gaius were no longer symbols of Rome's strength but reminders of a fading era.